When I was 12, I first played Grandia, having bought it on sale at an Australian department store called Big W that was running out a lot of its PS1 games. I liked it, but I wasn't really at an age where I got RPGs and how they worked, so I played it up until the end of Disc 1 and never really finished it. I've always been aware of the Sega Saturn version of Grandia, but never played it, as you just don't get the full picture playing a video game in a language you don't understand, even with a guide. So it was with great excitement that I found the English translation of the Sega Saturn version of Grandia on one of my favorite websites, CD Romance, downloaded it, burned it, and played through it. What little I knew of Grandia was about to totally change as I embarked on an epic 40-hour journey to finally finish what I started in 2001. Based on the PS1 official script, the translation is faultless and frankly fantastic, and the guys at Sega Extreme should be really proud of what they accomplished with it. For any child at heart, Grandia captures what it feels like to yearn to adventure, in a way you'd read about in books, see in movies, or play in video games. This is what Justin, the protagonist of the game, wants. He wants to be like his dad and travel the world adventuring, discovering the roots of the Angelo civilization. When he finally gets the chance to leave, Justin and his best friend Sue embark on a titanic journey that spans multiple continents, multiple tragedies, and ultimately triumph. Please be aware, I'll be spoiling the story of Grandia constantly, so if you don't want that, I would hazard it's best to play the game before watching this. Grandia is an RPG with hybrid graphics, 3D for environments and some interactive elements, and 2D for characters. The sprites are excellently animated and full of charm and character. The whimsy that's elicited by the graphics, soundtrack, and the deep story make Grandia feel like a really good book as you're playing it. You become very attached to the characters, familiar with the environments in the game, and deeply involved in the dynamics of developing your team to be better and perform more effectively in battle. Grandia is incredible and lovely and engaging and extremely innovative for a game released in 1997. So there, you can stop watching now if you don't want anything spoiled, while those who are curious have a deeper dive into the game proper. What does Grandia offer to RPG fans? 40 hours of gameplay, several playable characters for your party, an innovative hybrid real-time and turn-based battle system, and one of the most elegant and inventive character progression systems you'll ever experience. When Grandia is good, it's very, very good. The use of towns is limited, with the bulk of your time spent adventuring through forests, deserts, or ruins. So Game Arts captured the adventure theme very well here. When you engage in battle, characters can be left to their own devices, or you can control each one separately. Some are good with spells and abilities, and some are just brutes who hit hard and have a lot more health than anyone else in your party. So far, the game is sounding fairly basic, right? The use of a bar down the bottom right-hand corner of the screen to track who will move next, and using this to punish initiative is one of the best ways to be good at Grandia and really sets it apart from other RPGs. Initiative decides on when your character attacks. Some characters or enemies move faster on the bar, and if you're lucky or know how to time attacks for certain enemies, you can interrupt their turns, effectively making some battles incredibly one-sided and really make your practice pay off. It's not easy to learn how to do this, and every enemy has more or less initiative, with some enemies not even having cancelable attacks. But when you get good at this and see the cancel dialogue flash up, it's extremely satisfying. Fighting enemies gives characters experience as normal, but simply leveling up does nothing but qualify you to learn techniques if you met other criteria. For instance, if you use earth or fire magic a lot, you level up that element. Use axes or swords a lot and you'll level up your proficiency with these weapons. Learning some skills in magic is tied directly to knowing in advance how you need to target grinding, or cleverly outfitting or focusing use of certain skills or magic for each character to more effectively target what they learn. It's extremely inventive and very satisfying to finally match up the attributes required to unlock an extremely powerful skill or attack. As you play the game and characters come and go, like Sue leaving and Rap or Liette, for example, joining, their experience is actually put into a traveling item box called the stashing place, which allows you to divest this to the replacement character, which comes next in the story. This too is extremely innovative and a very elegant way of keeping momentum. One more really interesting thing that Grandia does is use optional dungeons, that while not factoring into the story, provide a real challenge and can take multiple hours to finish. Doing so though is very worthwhile. as you get some great loot you can't get otherwise and is good for developing your characters. However, if you don't know how to develop your characters in advance, or don't have a manual to read and are going into the game blind, you're not going to know any of this, and you could potentially find yourself having to grind for hours to get your characters up to an acceptable level for the end of the game. Grandia does get very hard by the end of Disc 2, with enemies capable of wiping out almost the entire health of your characters in 2 to 3 hits, sometimes all at once, with no way for you to avoid this. Additionally, the encounter rate by the end of the game becomes ridiculous and extremely frustrating. In the final stretch to the last boss, there's an infuriating gauntlet you have to run through the body of a being called Gaia, and while visually interesting, there's no way to avoid a lot of these encounters, which really slows down what should be an exciting race to destroy the monster threatening humanity. Instead, it just threatens your patience. While Grandia is extremely well designed, flush with inventive and innovative game mechanics, it looks and sounds just as good as it plays. Towns are rich with detail, with vivid and expressive textures and interactive elements filling most buildings, like vases you can knock into and even umbrellas you can interact with and stands in some of the houses. The world of Grandia feels alive, and as you get to learn about characters and their lives and backgrounds and the towns they live in, things just feel more engrossing and lived in. And when entering battle, the camera zooms and pans to capture the most exciting moments. It's incredible. The primary battle themes of both discs never get old, and the voice acting, while not in every cutscene, is also pretty entertaining as well. It took me 21 years to finally finish this game, and while sometimes it did feel like I was getting a little bit sick of what was happening by hour 40, when I finally finished Grandia, I felt that sense of wonder and achievement that Justin, Fina, and his loyal companions must have been feeling when I finished guiding them to victory. I've been meaning to do this for quite some time, finish this game and finally feel a sense of closure. I loved and sometimes hated it, but I wanted to keep coming back to help Justin finally meet his goal of becoming a real adventurer, and I'm glad that I did it. It made it all the more satisfying to finish this game on my favorite console as well, so many more years after Sega Saturn magazine first showed screenshots of it from the Tokyo Game Show in 1997. And it was sadly cancelled. And although we could feel melancholy about this, it's here now, and well worth finishing even today.